Have you ever walked past an empty classroom at night and felt like someone was still inside, waiting? This story comes from my cousin Noah, a man who never believed in the supernatural until one night changed everything. He worked as a night guard at an old school that had one strange rule: never unlock room 39 after dark. Nobody ever told him why. The door was always locked, lights always off, and no one ever went near it. But on his fifth night, the light in that classroom turned on by itself, and what he saw inside was something he's never been able to forget. Noah wasn't the type to scare easily. He was practical, calm, and didn't believe in the kind of stories people whispered about the old part of Green Ridge High. It was an aging school in a small town, the kind of place that smelled like chalk dust and old wood. The walls were covered in peeling paint, and the floors creaked even when no one was walking. He took the job because it was easy money. The school didn't have many students anymore, and at night it was mostly empty. Just a few janitors in the early hours, and then total silence till morning. Noah's first few shifts were uneventful. He'd patrol each floor, check the locks, jot the time down in his logbook, and then sit by the security desk scrolling through his phone. The only thing that bothered him was the silence. It wasn't peaceful silence. It was heavy, thick, the kind that made you aware of every sound your own body made. On the fifth night, a storm rolled in. The sky was a dull shade of gray, and rain hit the windows so hard it sounded like knocking. Around 9:45 p.m., Noah began his usual round. He noticed the lights flicker briefly, old wiring, he thought, before everything stabilized. Except one hallway wasn't dark like it should have been. Down the long corridor that led to the disused science wing, one light was still on. It came from room 39. At first, he thought someone had left it on by mistake. He radioed the janitor, no response. He sighed, grabbed his flashlight, and walked toward it. The sound of his boots echoed down the hall. The closer he got, the colder the air felt. The glass window on the classroom door was covered in dust, but he could see the faint glow of a yellow bulb flickering inside. Then, faintly, he heard something, a scraping sound. It was slow and deliberate, like chalk on a board. Noah froze. The classroom had been locked for years. Nobody had keys except the principal. He leaned closer, his breath fogging the glass, and tried to listen. The sound continued for a few seconds, then stopped. Carefully, he turned the handle. To his surprise, it opened easily. The room was empty. Desks stood in neat rows under a thick layer of dust. The air was heavy with the smell of mold and old paper. But on the blackboard, written in large, shaky letters, were the words, "I'm still here." Noah blinked, confused. He felt a chill crawl down his spine. He picked up a rag from one of the desks and wiped the writing off. Then he turned the switch off, locked the door, and walked away. He tried not to think about it. Maybe some student had a copy of the keys and was pulling a prank. He decided to check the locks again later. But 30 minutes later, as he passed the same hallway again, he froze. The light in room 39 was on again. The door was slightly ajar this time. A faint shadow moved inside. Noah gripped his flashlight tighter, his heartbeat loud in his ears. He took one step closer, then another. When he reached the doorway, the scratching sound started again. Faster this time, almost frantic. He pushed the door open and shone his flashlight inside. No one was there. But now, the words on the board had changed. "Don't lock me in again." The chalk lay broken on the floor, as if someone had thrown it in anger. Noah backed away slowly, unable to breathe. He turned the light off, closed the door gently, and didn't look back. The rest of that night was unbearable. The rain turned into thunder, the lights flickered again, and every time he closed his eyes he thought he heard something. A chair scraping, a faint tapping from somewhere down the hall. He tried to convince himself it was just the storm. At 3:17 a.m., the power went out completely. The emergency lights flickered once, then died. The entire building fell into silence. Noah turned on his flashlight and started walking toward the electrical room. As he moved past the old wing, his beam caught something that made him stop dead. The door to room 39 was wide open. He had locked it, he was sure. He took a step closer. His flashlight flickered once, then again. For half a second, he thought he saw something, the faint outline of a small figure near the teacher's desk. But as the light steadied, the shape was gone. A cold shiver went through his whole body. He backed away slowly and hurried toward the main building, refusing to look behind him. He stayed awake in the security room until dawn, staring at the hallway camera feeds. Room 39's light blinked on and off 2 more times during the night, even though the power to that section was cut off. When morning came, he reported everything to the principal. She didn't seem surprised. She just sat quietly, staring at the desk for a long time. Then she said, almost in a whisper, "You went near that room, didn't you?" Noah nodded. "Yes, why?" She sighed and opened a drawer, pulling out an old, faded photograph that showed a class of students from over 15 years ago. At the back of the group was a small boy, standing alone near the blackboard. "That's room 39, she said. "There was a fire one evening after school. Everyone made it out except him. His name was Thomas." Noah frowned. "What happened to him?" "They never found him. The fire wasn't big, but when the teachers went back inside, the classroom was empty. No one ever saw him again. After that night, every guard who worked here claims to see lights turning on in that room or hear chalk writing by itself." Noah didn't say anything. He quit the next day. Weeks passed. He tried to forget what happened. He found another job in a different town, far from Greenridge. But one evening, while unpacking a box, in his new apartment, something rolled out from under a stack of papers. A small piece of chalk. He froze. It was the same kind they used in the old school. Thick, dusty, with faint fingerprints on it. He was sure he hadn't packed it. That night, he couldn't sleep. The room was quiet, but in that silence he thought he heard it again. That slow, dragging sound of chalk across a board. He got up, turned the lights on, checked every corner. Nothing. But when he looked in the mirror on his way back to bed, he swore he saw a small handprint on the wall behind him. Faint, white, and low, like it belonged to a child. Months later, Noah got a message from one of his old coworkers at the school. The text was short, but chilling. They reopened the old wing. Apparently, the school had renovated that section to make more classrooms. But since reopening it, teachers started reporting strange things. Chalkboards filled with writing in the mornings, faint laughter during late meetings, and motion sensors triggering at odd hours. The cameras caught it too. At exactly 3:10 a.m., the light inside room 39 would flicker on. No movement, no shapes, just the light turning on, staying for 7 seconds, and turning off again. When Noah saw the footage his coworkers sent him, his heart sunk. Because in the brief moment before the light turned off, you could see faint words glowing on the blackboard. "I'm still here." Now, years later, that school has a new main and new management. Most of the staff have changed. But every once in a while, a new night guard quits after their first shift. They don't give reasons. They just leave the keys on the desk and walk out. One janitor told Noah recently that the door to room 39 is permanently sealed now. But sometimes when he walks by that hallway late at night, he swears he hears the faint sound of someone whispering from inside. A child's voice repeating lessons over and over again, like they never left class. And if you stand there long enough, you might hear the faint scrape of chalk starting to write again. Only this time, it doesn't say "I'm still here." It says something worse. "You shouldn't be."